when I served in the military, there were times where I was so pushed over the edge by my fellow soldiers. I was ostracized for certain reasons.
Lucky Boys Podcast.
For me particularly, and I don't know if you guys know this, but I served in the Army for 6 years. And you want to talk about
the American Army?
Yeah. I served in the U.S. Army Infantry at the time.
Where the fuck did you find the time? God damn, you
Which is right after
are
school.
you like down low,
I was-
60
no, I
years
was-
old? Like
I was in college, so I joined the Army, but the National Guard, the reserves. So I was balancing full time student status, job, as well as the military at the time. But you want to talk about toxic masculinity, like at the time, and I don't know if things have changed. I came into the military when "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" was a thing, and women in the infantry specifically were not allowed. So I literally heard everything from like "man the fuck up" to like even more extremes, which I don't feel comfortable saying. But I was nurtured in a completely toxic masculinity setting when I was in the infantry, and I've got nothing but respect for the people who voluntarily serve and honorably serve. But you want to talk about toxic masculinity, like these organizations like that definitely foster a level of toxic masculinity that is not healthy, in my personal opinion.
Now I have a question about that, but do you think it's necessary that we are trained in that sense? Like, it may feel like toxic masculinity, but is it something that we need to push us forward? Is it something like, let's say, the phrase "man up," right? AKA toughen up, stop being a wimp, don't let the negative voice inside you take control of you. You can push through it. You got it in you. Man up. I believe you can be a man and man up. Do it. Do you think something for like the Army, where you're potentially training to protect your country, like it's necessary?
Ooh, that's a pretty difficult question to answer. Me presently, I believe, at the time, maybe I would have said, at the time when I was in my early 20s in the military, I would have been like, oh, of course it's necessary. Like, how, at the end of the day, it was like a giant big boys club. Like, that's just how we talked. And like, how dare you tell me that what I'm doing or what I'm saying is wrong? But like, as I've aged and, as I've grown, as I've gained some wisdom, I think there are definitely healthier alternatives of vocabulary that could be used, or even just rhetoric that is spewed, because I can admit that when I left the military, I took a lot of that toxic masculinity with me to the world, to the working world, and it did not serve me in the best ways. I have conflict with so many people. Even if I didn't mean it, I would say things like "man up" or "don't be," insert word that hasn't aged very well. And I had to learn through harsh conversations with friends and strangers alike that is inappropriate, that is wrong. I'm not, I think that it is, all I can say is I think that there are more efficient ways of portraying masculinity in settings like that than having to belittle or having to feel belittled by certain rhetoric or certain words or.
Well, let's just say
I question that. Like, why does it have to be man up? And I get it. Like, you grew up with that. Like, we grew up with that. But why is it man up? Like,
because the Western point of view is being a man.
But is that
There's
right?
an ideal.
Right, I know. I get. It's the Western point
Western
of view.
man looks like. He's tough.
Right.
He's sharp. He's driven. He can overcome any obstacle. He take care of his shit. He can level up.
Is that the truthful view
Go full
of being
Saiyan.
tough? Yeah, go full Saiyan. Just say Saiyan. Go full Saiyan. Level 9,000, right?
But they're not going to reference a fucking cartoon to man up in the military. Are you serious? Like, actually, they might in the future.
I would not hate that.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually.
I would not hate. I would re-enlist. Maybe not.
No, that would probably invite a whole different group of people into the army.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
That's interesting from a marketing perspective,
Yeah,
because they're
right.
constantly looking for a good way to recruit.
Yeah.
They are.
new
They are.
recruits.
They bribed me with money, but I was like,
That's the
Did they get you
universal.
at a mall? Did they get you at a strip mall?
That's
they
a
got- I
universal calling card.
I was like a freshman or sophomore in college, and they were
you
just
need money,
like,
bro. Yeah.
they were just like, oh hey, we'll give you a signing bonus.
I would always see them at the Galleria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
no.
the credit card pushers.
The credit card
Yeah.
pushes.
Again, this is not to I served my time. I did my time. I have nothing but respect for people who served honorably, who
yes.
do it with the right intentions. I do believe that we do need to take care of our veterans. It pisses me off when I see veterans homeless out in the street begging for money.
Yeah.
It really
That
does.
should never happen.
It should never.
And
happen.
even then, with some of them, like with the poor health support that they get,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's shameful.
It's absolutely shameful. Like, they served this country, they did their time, and we wouldn't be having our freedoms if it wasn't for people who, again, maybe that opinion is heavily politicized too. But I'm of the belief that these are our brothers and sisters that we need to take care of. You know what I mean? They're the ones going to Afghanistan, Iraq, and putting their bodies on the line. Again, maybe that's a bad example because we're also there for political reasons as well. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like-
But this goes all the way back to the Vietnam War as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
No, all right. So let's just go back to that point you were talking about, like just certain language in the current modern day army has not evolved since you were there, right?
I mean, maybe it has. I haven't
Right.
been in there in a
But
while.
but it's within a decade, right?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. Within
Some would say that's the way it's always been. It worked, and it was done to them, so they just keep tradition alive, and that's how they know to train the new recruits, right?
Right.
And it's just the system that they have. Now, let's say if they were to have a meeting to modernize it, to make it kinder and nicer, more inviting place to be, to prepare you for the real world so that it can be appropriate. I mean, should the army have something like an HR for all these little things? Like if someone called you, let's just say a cunt, right? Or someone called you a faggot, or someone told you to man up, or just use all these inappropriate words to somehow address you. Right? Should the army have an HR department for that? And then how would that be addressed? Right?
To be honest, I don't know if they have an existing one or not, and I'm not educated enough to know on its effectiveness. But I definitely think it needs to be addressed. Actually, I believe it's Men's Mental Health Month, the awareness. And I will tell you that when I served in the military, there were times where I was so pushed over the edge by my fellow soldiers. I was ostracized for certain reasons. I was one of the very few at the time of my unit to have a degree. So I was already looked upon, like people would call me college boy in the most demeaning way. I was called Wolf Boy because at the time Twilight was a thing, and people thought I looked like Taylor Lautner at the time.
Okay. Now I see.
It's kind of, but they said it in a demeaning way,
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh my God, hey Taylor Lautner, what's up? No, you have to be like, freaking Wolf Boy over here, like
I would be like, why are you looking at me like that, man? I'm like, what are you talking
And also,
about?
like that means they actually watched the movie, or
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
I've actually never seen the movie. I saw the first hour of the first movie, and I think we all know. I was just I can't. It's just like it was so.
it's a weird vampire movie. Yeah.
I tried. The effort was put in.
So you were, you said you were discriminated against, and then you kind of were ostracized. Like, how did you handle that?
So to
in
be
a
honest,
very toxic environment like
I kind of just, put my head down and I try to just stay quiet. I kind of was just, at the time I remember thinking to myself, oh, these uneducated jerks, like I don't need this. My contract's almost over. Let me just ride this out and be done with it. And I never have to see these kind of guys again.
Lucky Boys Podcast.